But, you know, even so, is like, you know, apparently if you do it in the butt, if you do it in the mouth, or any of the, you know, various combinations, apparently that, you know, it has some, it doesn't take away your virginity.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't take away your purity. I mean, apparently virginity is about purity.
Yeah, as if somehow, like you know, doing it where the sun don't shine makes you more pure and acceptable to Jesus than the regular way. I mean, that seems a little goofy to me.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway, public access cable, people.
Yeah.
We're going with it. Hey, we're talking about health concerns here.
We are. I mean, and to be perfect, you know, non-flip for just a moment, you know, which is for me difficult. But you know, if you are doing it in various ways, it can be a higher risk thing.
It can be.
So
yeah. Anyway, so you brought up the purity pledge thing, which is something that when I was doing research for this topic, I had heard about the whole silver ring thing, as it is called. And other things like purity balls, which we'll definitely get to soon because I don't think I've ever thrown up so much in my mouth before. But some of you viewers may not be aware that there are actually evangelical movements among youth out there. They're especially targeting middle school and high school age kids, especially girls, although guys are welcome to participate too, where they get kids into these social situations, much like a concert or like any kind of really big high adrenaline event. Okay. Sorry, floor director's distracting you with notes. There are these events that they have where they have these huge, massive purity rallies, and they have like Christian rock bands come and play in laser shows, and thousands of screaming girls in like the Kingdom or whatever. We don't even have a Kingdom anymore.
No, we don't.
I almost said Thunderdome, but that was the wrong image.
That would be awesome.
It would be pretty awesome. Not what we're going for, though.
Safeco Field.
Safeco Field. Okay, there you go. Quest Field. You got all these screaming girls who have been told that they're Christians by their parents, and they're there, and they like see all the cute boys playing the rock music, and they're all. And then at the end, they're like, are you going to wear this silver ring on your finger and pledge to be pure until you're married? And they're all, yes! And it's this massive social pressure thing that kind of forces all the kids at these rallies to make a very particular type of pledge to their peers and to themselves that they may not really be fully socially aware of what they're saying. And basically, they're going to these silver ring thing rallies and kind of getting on board and jumping on the bandwagon. And I was curious whether these rallies are actually effective in achieving the goal of preserving purity until marriage.
I have absolutely no idea, actually.
Well, I do.
You do?
I did some research on this, and probably not surprisingly, can you guess, Kate, what the number one, or what the only means of experiencing a sex life that is promoted at these rallies might be?
Oh gosh.
Up until you're married. What's the only way to be safe?
Oh, abstinence.
Abstinence, of course.
Abstinence is the only way to go.
Because that works every time, right? I mean, I guess abstinence does work if you actually abstain, but
yeah, but how
many kids do?
Very few, I'm sure. I mean, I was a teenager once, remarkable as it may sound, and I seem to remember, you know, being just a wee bit on the horny side, and you know, trying to resist for I don't even know how long, many years, to find someone that might actually consent to marry you. I mean, let's face it, that's going to be a really difficult thing for a lot of people to do, and most of them are going to fail at it.
Right, most of them are, and not only, well, I don't know, I could go on a whole tangent about this. I already did the episode about childhood indoctrination and how wrong I think it is to pigeonhole kids into one style of belief and tell them this is what you believe because I say so. So I won't go there, but how effective is abstinence only education? Well, that's what I want to know.
That is part of the problem. I mean, abstinence only means they're only teaching them about abstinence. Yes. They're not teaching them about anything else.
Exactly.
And if you're that ignorant and you're that horny, chances are good abstinence will fail and you won't have anything to fall back on. You won't have a safe way to engage in sex without putting yourself at a large amount of risk. And yes, that is very much a problem. That is something, abstinence only is just a really rotten way to exercise birth control. It's a rotten way to exercise safe sex, to not have various diseases. I mean, herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia, all that stuff, you want some kind of protection.
Yeah, you need knowledge, and in all these groups, all of these evangelical movements that get into our public schools or that get girls to come to these big, huge virginity rallies, they promote abstinence only. And it's actually been proven in a 2001 scientific study funded by the government, the US government, about adolescent health. It's been proven to be absolutely the least effective means of preventing disease and unwanted pregnancy. Yeah, scary.
Well, that does seem to be one of the problems that we have with religious people, is they have an ideal and they only want to promote that ideal.
Right.
They're not actually selling anything practical. They're not selling a way of life that might actually do someone some good if they fail. I mean, they don't give you a parachute. They don't give you a safety net. And, all they want is for you to live a specific way. And if you aren't into that, if that's not your thing, or if you fail at it, you're just left floundering with no way to actually, to function in a dangerous world like ours.
Yeah. So, do you want to call us and talk about virginity? Or anything else? Call us 206. What's the number? 421-5658. I almost said it wrong, and that would have been bad. It would have been just as bad as Thunderdome. Anyway, so this study, I actually have some interesting segments pulled from the study about what the study covered and what some of the results were. So in 2001, around, I think they said 3,500, it may have been 35,000, I don't remember, teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 were polled on a lot of different subjects pertaining to health, but of course the sexual health was very interesting. These kids were also asked to describe themselves in various cultural terms, including what their religious beliefs are. Evangelical teens, according to this study, actually begin sexual activity on a massive scale shortly after their 16th birthday. So unless all these kids are getting married when they're 16, they're not waiting until marriage. The vast majority of them start having sex before, just after they turn 16. There is a much wider and more persistent gap between a teenager's attitude towards sex and their actual behavior among evangelical teens than among any other religious group of teens or teens who describe themselves as non-religious. So if that makes any sense.
To me, that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
I mean, basically, if you tell someone this is a bad thing, this is something you shouldn't do, and you give them no information about it, you create a taboo, and you make them want to do that thing. It becomes, well, maybe an obsession or a fetish or something, but or maybe it's just like they're going, well, what's the big mystery? I want to know. I want to know more.
Yeah, it's probably, for most of these kids, just natural curiosity, but they're giving answers to survey questions such as, I believe it's wrong to have sex before marriage. I do not anticipate that sex will be pleasurable. I think having sex with my partner will cause him or her to lose all respect for me. So they're giving these kind of canned answers that they know they're supposed to be giving, but the reality is that most of these teenagers who give these answers are out experiencing sex at a pretty young age, at the age of 16. The whole abstinence only thing just doesn't seem to be working. I mean, they're getting the message, they're getting the talking points, but it's not actually affecting their behavior. Let's see, I had another really interesting tidbit here. Let me see if I can find it. Evangelical teens are actually significantly less likely to use contraception than other religious groups. And the same study, the Ad Health study, asked all these teens where they turn for sexual guidance. About 70% of the evangelical kids said that they turn to God for advice about what to do sexually, and they are likely to use a condom around maybe half of the time. It was slightly less, it was like 48% of the time. By contrast, almost 70% of sexually active kids who turn to a trusted adult for advice, instead of praying to God, use a condom consistently, almost 100% of the time.
Well, if you listen to certain, religious leaders or people who consider themselves very religious, I mean, I'm thinking Christine O'Donnell here from the most recent election we had. They say that condoms are evil. Yeah. They say that condoms are bad, that apparently using a condom doesn't give you any protection at all, it doesn't prevent disease or anything, and I've never heard anybody justify how does it not prevent those things? Because it makes perfect sense, and we have science to back it up. I'm very confused by that.
Plus, let us not forget the Pope himself, who said that, condoms cause AIDS? He, actively said that, condoms actually make you get AIDS more. Really?
What are people, coating the condoms in AIDS juice or something? I mean, how does that work? I don't get it. I really
Lubricated
don't.
with extra AIDS lube. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. It's rather insane, in fact, that these kids are getting no sexual education, and they end up having more problems than kids who actually get told something here and there about safe sex. And also, I mean, the whole, who do you turn to for sexual advice?
Oh,
God. Really?
The only child he ever had was an immaculate conception. God's never had sex, and you want to ask him for advice?
Good point. Also, imagine a teen who's really horny, and she's, praying, should I have sex with Bobby or not? What do you say, God? Of course her hormones are going to be do it. And she's just going to think that's God. As if she goes to her friend, the frickin' librarian who she's known for 10 years or whatever, who's always given her good advice about everything else, and the librarian's like, just make sure you use a Jimmy hat. She's probably going to have an easier time in life. This is getting too racy for public television. Which way? Which way should I go? We're having technical difficulties.
Well,
I have to reach under the table again.
This is precisely what we won these awards for. You'll notice none of them says technical abilities. None of them, technical
this kind of
achievement.
Quality programming is what brought you 4 awards.
Exactly. And if you want to get on our case about it, 206-421-5658. Just, I mean, we'd prefer you talk about the topic, but if you want to, be cranky at us about technical difficulties.
You can talk about how you can't hear me the whole time, apparently. But I've been gesticulating, so I need to reiterate what I've said, apparently. So basically what I've been saying this whole time is that there was a study that was done that actually proves that evangelical teens who receive an abstinence-only education have a much harder time making informed sexual decisions. They are more likely to be getting pregnant at a younger age. They're actually more likely to begin sexual activity at a younger age. And they are actually more likely to get STDs than other kids, and that's probably because they're not using protection.
It seems the most likely explanation. I mean, I don't know how else you get an STD, except maybe needle use, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, looks like we have a call. Joel from Seattle.
Hello, Joel.
Wonder if this is the Joel I know.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you? What's up?
Well, I was thinking that, isn't it kind of
Whoa. Joel, we are having technical difficulties today.
Again.
Could you say that again, please?
Apparently we have been cursed by God.
Isn't it kind of unfair to expect religious people to, I mean, if they believe in abstinence, then they have to believe in that. They can't just go, here's a box of condoms.
Okay, hang on a second.
Well, I think I caught the gist of it.
Yeah, we think we get what you basically said, that if these people actually believe that abstinence is right, you can't expect them to say, oh, you should be abstinent, but if you're not going to, use some protection, right?
Right.
Right, well, the problem is that there's your beliefs, and then there's reality.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, reality is much more messy and much more dangerous than these people would like to admit. And so when you say they can't just say, well, use a condom, well, yes, they can. They just don't want to. And that's the problem, is their beliefs are getting in the way of being safe, of saving lives. So their beliefs are...
in saving lives, I mean, if your abstinence is what would save the life, because then there's no risk. I mean, because you have to admit that sex can be a life and death situation.
It
can occasionally. It's probably not extremely likely to be, though. I mean, it depends on what kind of social group you're in. You could get AIDS, yes.
It's true that abstinence will save lives. It's true that abstinence will prevent pregnancy. But it's also true that abstinence is deeply unrealistic.
It is deeply unrealistic, and we'll touch on that pretty soon. And Joel, I would ask you a question. Did you remain abstinent until you were married?
Oh, no.
See? I mean, and I'm not judging you for that. Most people don't. You know why? Because we're animals and we have biological drives and we like to have sex. And teenagers are no different from that.
Well, I might not disagree with you. I mean, I'm a pretty liberal guy myself, but I'm just thinking it's kind of, you can't put religious people in a corner and say to them, okay, you have to adopt our liberal ideals, otherwise you're stupid and you're putting people in danger, because it doesn't really work like that. You're allowed your beliefs and they're allowed their beliefs.
They're allowed their beliefs, but they are not allowed to corner their children into situations where they're ignorant and unable to make informed decisions for themselves. And it is perfectly acceptable for a religious parent to say, I think you should remain abstinent. I suggest it. I think it's the wisest move. But if you're not going to, here's some birth control. Here's how you use a condom.